Yeah, I wouldn't set meetings just to have meetings, which I'm guilty of doing that in the past. And I think now it's depending on what the meeting is going to be about. You got to bring in the head leaders of that specific department. And then before you have the meeting, there should be an agenda on what is the meeting about and what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve by having this 1 hour meeting, for example, right? And then who's going to be involved. And then during that process, like maybe there's 5 different topics that you want to touch on. And then as you go through those topics and you're deciding on what the next action step is like who's going to handle it and by when, right? So it's like we know what the outcome is when we start the meeting, which is why we're here, right? Who's going to be involved in making the outcome happen and then assigning that, right? And then sending the meeting notes after that meeting and then just getting everybody on track that way. So it's not just coming into a meeting to have a conversation. Like there needs to be an outcome that you're going for when you have the meeting. Like you're trying to figure out something, you know what I mean? What do we have on the table to solve? What caused this to happen last week? What are we trying to do going forward? Who's going to be a part of that? What do you need from me? What is the deadline for this task? Like you got to have deadlines and timelines, and you got to assign someone that actually has ownership of that task. Now they may have 2 or 3 people in the organization helping them, but at the end of the day, you need one throat to choke. Like it's like you got to go back to one person and say, hey, you said this was going to be done. You said everything was on track. You said you didn't need anything from me. Then it should be done. Yeah, I think different departments is different. I think when you're having sales meetings, you probably should be meeting daily about sales, right? Operationally, maybe it's, a weekly meeting, right? In accounting, maybe it's a monthly meeting, right? So I think it depends on the department that you have will dictate when you're going to have that meeting. But I think sales is one that you got to be talking about a lot, because that's driving your business. Yeah, you need timelines for your meetings, right? So if you have an hour meeting, and you have 5 bullets, like maybe you've got 10 minutes, there's a 5-minute check-in, right? And then there's a 10-minute per bullet, right? So where you're getting through the meeting and you stay on track and you make sure that you don't have a bunch of people just jumping in, wanting to ask a bunch of questions, like get through the meeting and then your last 10 minutes could be Q&A. You have someone in there taking the notes and then notes go out to each person, what we discussed, what we agreed on, and then boom, there's no gray area. There can't be gray areas when you leave a meeting. They can't be, well, I thought she or he was going to do it. Like it's got to be clear and in writing. And then the responsibility is on the leader to make sure it actually happened because they were in the meeting. And they need to also understand when they're in the meeting and you're getting other people involved. And again, this is learning the hard way, but like you also you don't need to dictate to your team that I need these 10 things done because I just said they need to be done. It's also them understanding why we're asking you to do the things that we're asking you to do, right? How does this benefit the company? How does this benefit you? How is this going to make our jobs easier? How is this going to make us more productive? How is this going to make us more efficient? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the meetings are for. It's not just so the owner can dictate a bunch of tasks for someone to do to keep them busy, which I think happens in a lot of companies. Like, man, he asked me to do these 10 things and I have no idea why we're doing these. Are stupid, right? There's a lot of people that have that kind of conversation. And so you got to get your team's got to be bought into that. And they need to understand the role that they play in the success of the company. And that's why we have these meetings so that we can improve and get better. Hey guys, real quick, if you have any questions or need anything, all you got to do is text the number below. And the thing is, sometimes your employees, they're the ones with the best ideas. Like they're the ones doing the work. And sometimes as an owner, you come in and you start dictating what to do. That's why I try not to do that anymore. I'm like, hey, what do you think? I trust you. You can make the decision. I trust you because they're in it every day. I'm not in it every day. So why am I going to come in and tell them to go do these things, which again, I used to do. It doesn't work. Like you don't keep good people like that. You're paying them to get an outcome that you're wanting them to get. So they need to understand what that is and how they win in that process. And then you let them do their job. Like, it's like if I told you how to hold this camera right now, you'd probably get super annoyed because I don't know what I'm doing, but yet I'm telling you how to hold your camera and do your job. You just need people to know what the outcome is and let them go do it, right? That's what I've learned over the years, for sure. If you really want to get the real feedback in your company, this is something we started doing, is do a quarterly audit with your team, a survey, an anonymous survey, and you put down like 10, 15 questions about your company, like, hey, how are the meetings ran? Do you think the meetings are productive, for example, as one? And you do an anonymous survey with all your employees, you'll get the real feedback on what's going right in your company, what's going wrong in your company, what do we need to improve as a company? We're asking you for feedback. What do we need to do to help you be more successful? That's a question, right? And then you get all this feedback, and what you'll find is there's a lot of common denominators in the feedback that you'll get. And that's how you make your company better, by asking the people that are doing the job, not asking because we're looking at a financial statement, yeah, that's one way to understand how you're doing, but it's asking your team what we can do better. What are we not good at? What can we do to help you? They may say we need more communication. You'll get all sorts of information, but it's very helpful. It's very eye-opening too. You can ask about your manager. How is your managers? Are they responsive to your needs? You feel like they care? Like, you can dictate the questions however you want to around your specific business, but I found that to be like an awesome survey to do, because then I'm getting real feedback on how my company's really doing. Because at the end of the day, like, numbers matter, but if your people are not generally happy in what they're doing, your company is not going to be around, and you're going to lose good people. And then you choose you want to act on it or not, which I would, right? If I got a bunch of negative feedback, I'm like, okay, like, we're obviously not giving them enough attention, right? Something's going wrong here. So then you have to fix it, and then you do another survey in the next 3 months. Like, you put out and say, hey, we got your feedback. Thank you so much. Here's what we're going to do over the next 90 days to improve these 3 areas. And then we're going to do another survey in 90 days. Imagine if you do that every quarter with your team, right? Kyle, you came from a position, right? You told me about a couple things. Imagine if your company and the leaders that work there were getting your feedback, and you thought your feedback was being heard every 90 days, you might not be here with me. Like, if you just really listen to your employees and show them you care and take the feedback they give you and actually do something about it, your company is going to be better, period. Because you're going to be thinking a whole different thing like I do. And here's the other thing. Here's the other one. You need to ask your clients. You want feedback from your clients, and you're wondering why they're not using you again, right? Why do we lose an account with a customer? Why did this builder stop using me all of a sudden? If you start asking them and you do quarterly surveys, number one, it's going to let them know, like, this guy really cares about what I think. And number two, you're able to now jump on and fix the situations so that that client stays a client, right? Because a lot of times we lose clients and we don't really understand why we lost a client or a big account. Well, it's because we're not searching for their feedback. We're not listening. We're thinking about us and we're doing everything right. And in reality is you're doing a lot wrong, but because you didn't get their feedback, you don't know. So imagine if every client that you got feedback on at the end of every project, matter of fact, we're not doing this on every project, but we're getting ready to, because I just got an idea. Every project that we complete, and it takes 6 months to complete, we should do a survey for the client with like 10 things. It's not overwhelming, but 10 things that we know that matter to them that would tell us whether we're winning or losing with this relationship. Immediately, as soon as you send them and you say, hey, I care about your feedback, you already look better than 90% of the people out there doing business. Like, period. I don't know anybody that's even doing it. But right now, for my team, when we complete a commercial project, because they take 6 months to a year, you know how I know we're winning right now? What I do is, like, you got to give me a letter of recommendation, because I have no idea what you're all doing through the day. But I know if they give me an LOR that we did something right, because they're just not going to do that. And then that's how we're building our business. LORs, we send it to clients every time we bid. So if we don't get one from a client, I know we failed. Like, literally, I don't even need to know anything, but we did not succeed if I don't get that LOR on every single client. But we should do a survey, right? If we're doing work for you over a year or two, we should get feedback every 90 days on how we're doing. Because as an owner, you're not in touch with it. Like, I'm so out of touch with what we do. Like, dude, I don't even know what projects we got going on. Like, how am I going to know that we're doing well in my business? How am I going to know that? I need that type of information that's coming from the actual customer that I could send out directly. Hey, thank you so much for your business. What's really important to me is that we're succeeding and over delivering in what we're actually, providing, right? And then give them 5 questions, let them answer it. And they're either going to say you're doing a great job, or they're going to tear you down, because I've had it happen, right? As soon as you open your mouth and like, hey, give me feedback, and it's like 10 minutes, they're just going to tear you down on all the things you're off schedule. Like, you hit me with a change order, your installers are not showing up. And so, asking for feedback, I think, is the biggest thing we can do with our employees and our clients. Like, if we do those 2 things, we're going to have a successful business, if you truly care. Which probably, if you're sending that out, you do care. So I just gave you a nugget, right? Get your clients' feedback. You're doing great, dude. That's why you're coming over for dinner tonight. We're going to give you all the feedback tonight. You just don't know it yet.